Alright, here's showing the stock body and the stock Evol chamber, and we have gone in and produced this, made this clear body and also a clear Evol, and we're going to put these on the shock, and I'm going to show you what the differences are. You can see we've got the seals in there in the body, and we've also got the wear band in there, or the guide also, and then you can also see the floating piston inside of the Evol chamber. All these are just hollow tubes before anyhow. So let's get these mounted on the shock, and then we can do some testing and show you how they work. Hey, Andy here at Multech again with another shock video, and today we're going to go over these Fox Evols. We have made some clear tubes so you can see what's actually going on inside these, and we're going to identify some stuff and point out some good points and some questions we get all the time on these. We probably spent 10 hours making these bodies and about $50 worth of parts in these tubes. We've got polycarbonate on this one, and I believe this is acrylic, so two different properties, and we had to machine them differently, and to get them clear again we had to actual polish this one, and we had to heat this one, and then we had to seal it up and get our threads cut right. So we're going to go over the identification of parts right now. Okay, here's the parts ID. We're going to identify what everything is inside of here. We have a floating piston inside of our Evol chamber, and you can see it in the middle position right now. So this actually floats up and down. We don't have any air pressure in either one of these chambers. We set it in the middle so it's easier to see. We also have, as you can see here, there's a seal, and the old seal we took out had two lips on it, which is the Gen 1, and this is the Gen 2 seal, which has one lip on it. You can't see it right now. We'll try to zoom in, and maybe we'll be able to see it better. This is a wear ring, just like a dirt bike fork has on it. It has a Teflon coating of some sort on the inside, and that lets this shaft move freely up and down. There's also two seals here, which are your samurai seals. And as you can see, as I push this shock in, there's going to be an air chamber right here, and then this is your main air chamber below this seal. So every time I push this shock down, it's sucking air in, and then every time this shock extends back out, it's pushing air out. There's a float fluid, which I've talked about in other videos, and this is the pillow pack of it. We actually put this, I didn't put it in here, it was messy, and you wouldn't be able to see it. But this fluid will eventually dry up, and it'll exit here, because every time this shock compresses and pulls back up, it pushes that out. So these shocks will get sticky, and you'll notice you'll push down on the front end and it'll stay down. When this stuff dries out, that means your shocks need serviced. Send them in to us. We'll put new fluid in here. We'll change the fluid inside this shock, change your nitrogen, and change the seals in it. There's also a little bitty O-ring right here. You'll notice this on some of the seals if you look, or on the shocks if you look real close. All it is just a dust seal, so we don't get dirt down in the threads, because this collar is threaded on. And then there's another seal down in. You'll notice there's two wear bands externally on this seal head that hold your oil in. And a lot of people think these shocks are just oil shocks. Well, that's not true. It's the same as a regular spring shock, except you have this sleeve over it. So let's get to showing what's going on. We're going to put some air pressures in these and show how these actually work. So for demonstration purposes, I'm not going to put, because these, I don't know what these plastic tubes are going to be able to go up to. I don't want to put 150 pounds or 135 pounds in this Evol chamber. We can go to 75, pretty safe, I see, that I'm comfortable with. but this is a good reason why you should always air up this chamber first. And the reason is, if you put a lower pressure in this main chamber and then we go with a higher pressure, as you push air, whichever side you put pressure in of this floating piston first, it's going to push that piston either up or down. So if we put it in here first, it's going to push it down. If we put air in here first, it's going to push the piston up. So if we put the air in here first, pushes the piston all the way to the top. Now we come over here with a higher pressure, it's going to force that piston down, and this air volume that's in here is going to raise this lower pressure considerably. So then your ride height is going to be off. So let's go ahead and start pumping this up. And I've just put a little bit of pressure in here, and you saw that piston move down. So we're just going to put a little bit, and I may not put as much. We're just going to go with 50 pounds. And then we're going to go to the main chamber, which is your ride height adjust. And we're going to put pressure into it. And with pressure in it, we're not going to go but 10 pounds probably in this chamber here. It's not going to overcome the pressure that's on this side of this piston. So it's not going to move this piston. What's going to start moving this piston is when you start to compress your bike, compress the shocks, this volume starts to compress, and once you overcome the pressure that's in this chamber above this piston is going to start to rise. So let's go ahead and screw this on here, and we're going to up the pressure for setting ride height. And I hope you kind of understand how this shock works now and what's going on. I mean, we spent some money here and some time just so you, I mean, really to save us phone calls on the phone and also to help you at the track. And you're going to notice that this shock's going to start rising once it overcomes how much pressure it takes to overcome the stiction or the drag on these seals. Then it starts to raise. So we're going to put some pressure in there. I don't know what pressure that's about 10 pounds right there. And we'll just leave that in here. So I'm going to get over here out of the way, hopefully, and we're going to compress this shock, and hopefully that we can see that this piston here moves. We might have to actually let a little bit out here. I'm not sure what we're going to. So as we compress this, the deeper in the travel, yeah, we've got, don't have enough in this one, or we've got too much in this one. So let's pump this up just a little bit more. There's 20, so let's see if we can get that piston to move. And you can see it move just barely there towards the end of the stroke. So you're like on a spring shock, it's like you're getting on the main spring is what it acts like. So as you start to lift this piston, well, on an air shock, this is the problem why you have a lot of diving in the corners. It's not getting on, it's not transitioning onto this chamber until you're a good ways into the travel. And that's why I dislike these shocks as much. I like a spring shock because I can set the crossover height wherever I want it. And that's another reason too. The lower pressure you run in this main chamber, the lower the pressure you should run in this Evol chamber. Because if you run a higher pressure in here and a lower pressure in here, it's going to take deeper in the stroke before it overcomes the pressure in this chamber. Once this piston starts moving, they're actually equalized on both sides, and it's always going to stay equal. You're always going to have the same amount of pressure on both sides. It's not going to overcome one or the other. So I hope that explains a lot. And you can see this piston move and how deep into the travel. I guess I can add a little bit more pressure here, and we'll see if we can start moving this. You'll see that this starts moving rather than being way down farther. It's going to start moving quicker into the travel. Alright, we're going to do this again. We're going to pump this up to about 10 pounds, and this is going to be upside down, this gauge, but hopefully you can see it. So there's 10 pounds right there. We're going to compress this, see where the piston starts moving, which is about right here in the travel. I tell you what, I'm going to get a marker and we're going to mark that spot with 10 pounds in there, which is about right here. Now we're going to put, about, I don't know, 25 pounds or so in there. And we're going to remark the spot where that piston starts moving. And you're going to see it's going to be earlier in the travel. So see, it started right there. If that makes sense. Now let's, you can do 50 pounds, you can do whatever, but you see the lower the pressure, I guess we could try a little higher pressure in here. So we've got 50 pounds in here right now. To keep from confusing everyone, let's go ahead and take this off, and we're going to put 75 pounds in here, and then we'll try this test over again. We just added 75 pounds, or we put 75 pounds in this Evol chamber. We had right at 50 pounds, and with 10 psi it was right about this red mark that this piston started to move. So it was like the shock got stiffer there. What should happen now is we put 10 psi in, and it should be down farther in the travel. Like I said, the more pressure you run in the main chamber, the more pressure you can run in the Evol chamber, or vice versa. So let's put 10 psi in, and we should be deeper in the travel before, with a higher pressure in the Evol, before we get into that heavy spot. So I'm going to add 10 psi. You see the shock start going upward, and right there is 10. We're going to see where this piston starts moving. So see, it didn't move until down here. Let's mark this again. We're going to mark it off to the side. Now let's go to our 25 psi. And we're probably going to be about right between the two numbers. Yep, we're just about right here. So I hope this makes sense. Why are a lower pressure that you're running in the main chamber, the lower pressure you should be running in the Evol chamber.